From the Lean Enterprise Institute in Boston, this is the WLEI Podcast, where we share stories of people making the world better through lean thinking and practice. For more information about LEI, including how we can help you apply lean thinking, please visit lean.org.
Hello, I'm Lex Schroeder, and my guest today is Sandrine Olivencia, joining us from Paris. Sandrine is author of Build to Sell, The Lean Secret to Crafting Irresistible Products. As co-founder of Taktique Academy and a partner at Lean Sensei Partners, Sandrine has been a coach to technology leaders and teams on lean product and process development for many years. This is the second time we speak with Sandrine on the WLEI podcast, and in this conversation, we talk about how lean product and process development principles are especially useful to entrepreneurs, how to make it past those first 5 very challenging years as a startup, where technology leaders tend to struggle the most with LPPD thinking, and how to go beyond what Sandrine calls, quote, feature frenzy, and instead focus on creating real value for customers. Hi, Sandrine. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Lex. I'm so happy to be here.
And are you joining us from Paris? Where are you right now in the world?
Paris, France.
Oh, good.
Nice weather, too.
Good. And I'm just outside of Cambridge, and I'm really grateful for your time. We've spoken a bit offline about lean product and process development. I'm reading your book. I know I have a lot to learn from you, and I'm just really thrilled to sort of continue the conversation. You've talked in the past with LEI about your approach to lean product and process development and what you're doing in tech and how you're supporting people and coaching people. So I hope this feels like a continuation of that conversation and getting up to speed on where you're at now, but also letting our listeners know kind of your background, what brought you to this space, and what you're noticing and seeing as opportunities. I'd love to start by asking you what brought you to lean thinking and practice in the first place, and perhaps how it's made a difference in your own career journey.
Okay, how much time we have? All right. Where do I start? I'm going to start in 2001. Actually, I should even start before because I started my career in the 90s. Yeah, I'm not that young. I started my career in the 90s. I was a programmer developing software at the time with Visual Basic. I don't know if that means anything to you, but really, I want to start telling my story in 2001 in San Francisco. I love this town. Anyways, yeah, 2001 in San Francisco. I lived there. I had my own little consulting practice at the time already. And I was a coder and a program manager. And I was called at the last hour to save projects. Can you believe it? I love doing that. And so I was called in to work on a large tech development project at Genentech. Well, at the time, Genentech, a large bioengineering firm. And this is when I discovered Agile. Actually, I'd just come out. The manifesto came out around 2000, 2001. And the Agile Manifesto, for people not familiar with the Agile Manifesto and Agile, it's really the most widespread. I mean, it's a widespread method and approach for building products in the tech world and the digital world, right? And it to me was like a breath of fresh air. And it's a long story. I'm making a long story out of something because it's really important to understand the context. It was a breath of fresh air from this what we call waterfall methodology. Okay, which was inspired by the construction industry. Waterfall methodology comes from the construction industry. We did not know how to develop software at the time, so we looked around and we saw what others were doing, and that's how we applied the same approach. Very waterfall specs, design, and so you were like stuck in a really rigid assembly line. So it was very, very much of a Taylorist system, and I hated it. And so Agile was a breath of fresh air because all of a sudden we were allowed to talk to other people.
What a thought.
What a thought, right?
What a thought.
To talk to, and then to talk about the customer. What another thought. And so just that was like, wow, that could be interesting. And then so I really discovered, I studied it, I bought all the books, I was in love with Agile, I joined the community, I became really an active player,
Great, we need so many more women in that space too.
We do. I started reading, and I really learned extreme programming in particular, because the extreme programming approach is really focuses on quality and artisanship. Okay, and that's what I liked. Um, and what happened over the past 25 years? We've lost that completely. I swear to God, something horrible happened. And what I'm seeing is like we're back in the 90s. We call it agile, but it's not agile. Like one of the authors of the Agile Manifesto, Martin Fowler, says, I mean, it's the fake agile. He calls it the faux agile. It's funny because it's we're back to square one. We like people just constantly delivering new stuff. You know, we're stuck in what I call feature frenzy, right? And what happened, actually, what I think happened is that agile became too famous for its own good and too popular. And consultants got hold of agile. And I was one to blame because I was a consultant, right? And we turned it into this bureaucratic approach, or it was turned into this big bureaucratic approach. And because they saw agile, you know, like the same with lean. We saw agile, they saw agile, and they saw just the tip of the iceberg. They only picked what they knew they could standardize and sell easily. Well rituals, team rituals, and processes, and you name it, right? And basically, they turned it into something that could be repeatable because they did not see the artisanship, the artisan mindset of agile, and they did not know how to reproduce it. And as a matter of fact, neither did the agile people. And actually, anybody who's tried that over the year, they've just done safe and that kind of stuff, right? That is very process-oriented, very heavy, very rigid. A way of scaling a pseudo agile, and that's what brought me to lean. It's a long story because you have to understand the thinking process behind it. And in tech, this is what's happening. A lot of people are going through the same thinking process, right? And some who did not live or work in the 90s or the early 2000s, like me, they don't know that, but they know something's off and they're looking for something else. So, you know, that's the thinking process behind it. So I left San Francisco and I moved to Paris because my daughter was born. You know, I'm married to an American. I studied in the US. My daughter was born in San Francisco, and I wanted her to get both sides of, you know, her culture. She's American and I'm French, although I'm also American. So basically, we moved to France, and there I joined the Agile community, and then I met people in the Lean community here, very manufacturing, service, hospital oriented. And I met Michael Ballet. I read his book. I also read The Machine That Changed the World because I started discovering this new way of thinking. And I was trained by Michael Ballet all these years. And that's how tech met Lean. In France, actually, I'm one of the pioneers of lean tech in France, and beyond as well, but especially in France. And we built this community with a colleague of mine, and that's what brought me to lean. That's a long story, but it was important for me to tell it.
It's very important, and I think you're right that there are many folks who understand the potential of Agile, but sort of feel like something's off and don't see the roots in lean thinking and practice, don't understand how the two work together. And I think we could talk for hours about that, but I won't. I want to. You've spoken a little bit about how so many companies and startups get lost in feature frenzy, as you call it, and instead, you know, the alternative is to do the harder but much more gratifying work of building a product-led organization. And again, I know we don't have all day to talk about it, but can you speak to where leaders can start in building a product-led organization? Where can they start?
Okay. Just a bit of context. And I love to talk, so you're going to have to make me stop talking at some point. Yeah. So the thing is, like, it starts early. You have there's a startup, a founder, you know, they have an idea and they're lucky and they find a market fit. And at that point, they step away from the Gemba. Okay.
And for people listening, the Gemba, can you define for people who don't...
sorry. The Gemba is where the value is created, consumed, built, right? So the Gemba is where the real things happen, where customers look for a solution, where they buy it, where they consume it, where they use it, and then also where people build that solution, right? So it's where value is created. And so we get away from the Gemba. And I see that all the time. We find a market fit, and it could be, it's really early. There's 10, 15, 20 people, and that's it. Boom. We want to start structuring, organizing, which makes sense. We need some sort of bureaucracy, but the problem is bureaucracy comes with its trade-offs. And the trade-off is that leaders, because they have to worry about the organization, hiring people and good managers and setting processes, and then now, oh my God, we're spending all this money. We have to go look for work, and then funding, and then my God, cash is burning. And so they start stepping away from the Gemba and the product. And that's where they start delegating the product to teams of, product owners and tech leads and whatnot, who don't have the same passion, culture, history with the product. And that's when the product starts losing its edge, because for years, what they do is that they try to exploit, if I want to say, their current product, and they stay stuck on their original idea, trying to sell the same original idea, instead of trying to enrich it and follow the market. That's what happens. So what I'm saying is, and so they turn into like this feature frenzy, which is teams, they don't have that culture of artisanship and whatnot, and the quality and the value and the history and the love for the clients and the product. They're just building an assembly line, a delivery process, and they add new features to the product, and they get stuck in this thing, and they can't get themselves out of it. This is what I call feature frenzy. So the one thing that I'm suggesting to do, my advice is to not get away from the product. That doesn't mean not build an organization, but develop the right artisan spirit and try to diffuse it, share it, teach people about this. And there are ways to do this in lean engineering. Thank God. This is what lean engineering is about transferring, transmitting, sharing, teaching people that artisan spirit.
Yeah. And making sure that knowledge doesn't get lost. I mean, I think that's what I love about lean product and process development, and all the knowledge capture and reuse and all those good things. With startup, it's fun to be talking about LPPD specifically for entrepreneurs. And you've written about and spoken about how hard those first 5 years are. And
Yes.
Particularly now with shifting market demands and all those things, and just the context in which we're living in. And so are there any particular recommendations that you have for founders and small teams to get past those first 5 years with this product-led mindset?
Yes. When they build several, but the first thing that I would say that comes to mind immediately is when we build an organization, we start structuring an organization, we create vertical organizations. And we can't help it. It's normal. We want we build different functions, and even when we think we're building teams around value streams or industries, we still create a vertical organization, because each team is going to have their own set of objectives, their own culture, their own purpose, and then they forget about the rest of the organization. And on top of it, our management system is very top down, or vertical, I want to say, not necessarily top down, but very vertical, right? The management of the top leaders set the objectives and the strategy, and then they hire middle managers to translate this into plans and then follow them and control them. And then you have the people doing the work, executing and then reporting. And then it goes back up. You see, it's really vertical. So the first thing that I would do is think horizontally, right? Try to build a horizontal organization. That's where lean comes into play. All right. So lean, there are different techniques, right? TPS is about building horizontal organizations. This is what it's about, really. It's about Kanban, for instance. If I just take Kanban is about crossing those silos, okay, and triggering the right conversations between the right people at the right time to make sure that the value continues to flow, right? It's funny, but the way I see it, lean is more of a social networking.
Oh, totally.
tool
Totally.
than a production tool,
No.
right? Yeah, it's akin to
And in
that.
that way, it's so much more respectful. I mean, I think I didn't get that the first 5, 10 years in this space, but now that I've got 20 years in this space, I really deeply get how it's respectful when people can talk to each other more, like you said, and think together more. The
That's exactly it.
horizontality.
And so, yeah, and that's why I'm totally attracted to Lean for that reason, because the human being is at the center. And value. But what did I want to say? Yeah, the second thing is the product is the company. We forget it, right? We think that the company is about the org chart and the scaling strategy,
Yeah.
M&A and and all that kind of stuff. And it's not about that. It's about the product. And as soon as we forget the product, we're doomed.
Hmm.
We're doomed because either we're lucky and we're on we're on a market that is huge. We're really good at something. We've cracked something really important. We have an innovation and we manage, nobody else has it, or we're really good at selling, or we have deep pockets and we keep hiring expertise. But this is not really how it's not predictable. It's totally not predictable. But what is predictable is betting on your product.
I love that.
If you keep the product, if you keep the product at the center of your preoccupations and your worries and your activities, then you can't go wrong. Creating products that hit the mark systematically, that
Yeah.
resonate with customers systematically, and that bring you money, cash, so that you can reinvest in enriching the product, right? So you have to look at it from both angles. Creating value for customers, they need to resonate, and they need to be profitable as well. So we need to look at it from both angles. That's what I would recommend. That would be my suggestion to startup founders and entrepreneurs. Is, don't you think that's because you found a small market fit, or you think that's it, you've made it?
Yeah.
Because that's the easiest part. I know what I'm talking about. I've made it and I failed some. So yeah, exactly. So it's not that hard, and finding funding is maybe not as hard, not as easy as it used to be, but it's still the easiest part. The most difficult is scaling it.
Yeah.
And building resilience. That's what Toyota knows how to do.
I'm glad you said that
Building
word,
resilience.
resilient systems. And
Yes.
like you said, the systems view, and building things out systematically. You strike me as someone, from what I know of your work, who's really leading in this space, but who has also done her homework and understands this. The podcast sneeze. Here
Bless
we
you.
go. Who really understands this space. And so I'm curious, how did early work in lean product and process development by folks like Al Ward and Jim Morgan and others influence your work?
Well, I've been in product design and development for now 30 years. Yeah, about 30 years. So I'm constantly looking for new ways. I'm a curious person. Agile was one of them. And then when I constantly read. I never thought at that time of looking into, at how products were made and conceived in the automotive industry. That would not have come to mind when you're in the tech world. If I hadn't well, met lean people and started hearing about, about lean and how they approach product design, and I heard something. I really heard something. So I started looking for books, because that when I want to learn something, I go to books first, right? That's my source of my first source of learning is books. And yes, I discovered these books. Fantastic book by Jim Morgan and Durward Sobek, and Lean Product and Process Development was definitely my reference, and even today it remains a reference. And then their later book, Designing the Future. Wow,
Like and
fantastic.
Morgan, Jeff Liker and Jim Morgan. Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic book. So when we want to start, we read a book, and we read a great book, and those are two great books, and they will never die because they're a key reference and a strong inspiration. As a
Oh,
matter of fact, I mentioned those two books in my book, Build to Sell.
love it. Are you writing anything new these days? I know that you just recently, it's not too far off your Built to Sell, but are you writing anything else right
Yeah.
now?
Oh yeah, I'm building. I'm building. Sorry, you see, I look at it like a product. My book, so I'm
Yeah,
building a book.
I love that.
Um, I'm writing a book number two. The first one was Build to Sell, where I focused a lot on, how to conceive, to conceive a product, how to choose the best concept, and how to look at it from a set of trade-offs that you have to resolve to and then to the number two, which is build to scale. How do you actually turn this into a resilient business?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm about 70% done on this book, and I don't know when it's coming out yet. Give me another few months. And so that's the one I'm working on. So I'm going to be talking about Obeya, radical quality. I'm going to be
Nice.
talking about ramping up, and the second part of the journey.
Excellent. Just two more questions for you.
Yes.
Given how the context is different in tech, and like you said, people sort of navigate that industry differently and maybe go to different places for knowledge. And then there's generational difference. There's all these different things between hardware and software. I'm curious, when it comes to lean thinking and practice and this problem solving capability development and lean product and process development in tech companies, particularly young tech companies. What do you see as the biggest challenges for folks with kind of the LPPD mindset or
Yeah.
being open to that in the tech space? For me, I have guesses, right? Like maybe it's about speed. People don't want to slow down and start thinking that way. But what is it from your view? You've worked with so many companies. I'm curious.
Well, it's funny because the way I see it is that we're going to have to live with each other no matter what, because the digital and the physical world are merging. And that means that we're going to have to understand to live and work with each other. But for that, we need to understand that we are constrained by different laws of physics. I think that's the key point. The manufacturing world is in the manufacturing world, it's a physical world, right? We build physical objects. And so we're constrained by the laws of physics. In the digital world, in the virtual world, in the digital world, we don't have the same laws. We're not constrained by the laws of physics, a little bit, electricity, but not that much at all. And I think this is where the main differences lie. Big differences. And because of that, so in the physical world, we're constrained by the materials and the logistics and the mechanical limits, right? The cost of the goods and cost is really a totally different dimension in digital, right? The time to manufacture and whatnot is so different in the digital world. The constraints are very different. We move fast. We're able to iterate endlessly. And duplicating a product is, the cost of duplicating or changing a product is near zero. I mean, I exaggerate, but not that much, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. So that also means that we get lost in endless features and blurry ownership and whatnot. You know what I mean? But the trade-offs, they're not the same. They're not physical. They're often show up in the user experience, right? And then in the technical debt that we build. Because our products become this big plate of spaghetti. It's very, so this is where I think the two worlds differ. And I think it's going to be as hard for tech people to work with, folks in the manufacturing world than it is for, manufacturing. Yeah. I think it is because it's the speed is different. The speed is different. I remember once my grandmother told me, in the relationship, what matters is that you go at the same speed. And it really, it stayed with me. I was about 18 years old and I did not understand what that meant at the time. She said, if your partners, you're not going at the same speed, then for sure you're running into the wall. And I did not understand. And I understand now with, and this is the same thing. This is it reminded me of that. It's really about the speed.
Mm.
And so some people are going, the manufacturing folks are going to need to speed up a little bit, and tech people are going to need to slow down a bit. And frankly, tech people need to slow down a bit.
Oh, yeah.
To take, to pause and take a higher view on things, not just like be stuck in the details, the daily details. So I think that if we slow down and we try to adjust our speed, we might be able to collaborate better. And no matter what, we don't have a choice. And that's where lean engineering is awesome, because it provides all the tools to do that.
Yeah,
or a lot of them.
Ways of thinking, absolutely. And then just to close, I mean, you've spoken about so many energizing things already, but in the space of lean product and process development in tech, what energizes you the most? What are you seeing when you're talking to leaders and startups and established companies, but particularly startups? What are you hearing that is energizing and seeing?
Okay, what I'm hearing is that there are things that energize me a lot, and it's like those new leaders who are not just interested in making a big buck, a quick buck, sorry, who are not just influenced by the Silicon Valley culture. And that is starting to change, and I'm really seeing it. What I'm not, so what energizes me is the fact that I'm on a mission, on a mission I want Silicon Valley to realize how urgent it is that we need to integrate this lean thinking and lean engineering into the way we build things. We really need to do it. And I want this to be, because they set the tone for the whole tech world.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley, they set the tone. And if we can bring lean to the source, we can create this ripple effect. See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And shift the focus from speed, output, feature, money is free, to clarity, care, long-term value.
Oh,
and that's what energizes me.
I love that. And just using the word care.
Yeah.
It's right alongside value. Perfect. What are there products or companies that, excite you? Specific products or companies or?
Well, it's funny because it's not just about the product or the company. It's going to sound cheesy what I'm saying, but I'm really more energized and by people, by leaders, by inspiring leaders, because a company is not lean, or a company is not successful, a product is not successful. There's always someone behind, or a group of people that made it happen, that were dreamers,
a team,
and that had that were, and so I admire, for instance, an Ed Catmull, the co-founder of Pixar, because he managed to create this culture where engineers and artists could learn from each other. Really, he set this great environment for strong collaboration, continuous learning, and creativity. He integrated creativity into, the day-to-day activities. So I'm really fond of this person who I've never met. But let's not just talk about like the known people. I want to mention someone I totally admire and I worked with for like a couple of years. He's not like a household name, okay? His name is Meredith Bell, and he's the CEO of AutoRabbit. And I worked with him for a couple of years. And this person is the kind of leader I really admire, because he's deeply grounded in the product. He loves the product. And yet he comes from sales, but he loves the products, and he's constantly looking at ways to deliver value. He's very thoughtful about how people work together to make it happen. He's humble and ambitious at the same time. And so he discovered lean, and he studied lean, and it reinforced the side of his personality. I admire this kind of people. We need more like him. I respect Meredith.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, I ask because I want people to have some kind of starting points if they want to look into some, things more, get into this space more. I look forward to reading your next book when it comes out.
Thank you.
For folks who want to read Built to Sell, please, you can find that. I know it's on Amazon, but let's give some other resources on Amazon. Where else is it being sold?
It's being sold in different places. It's being sold on hold on. I know where it's being sold. I'm going to tell you that right now. Of course, Goodreads,
Yes.
Apple Books,
Yeah.
Google Play, Barnes and Nobles, Rakuten. Audible soon.
Nice. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Sandrine.
Sure.
And let's keep in touch. And for folks who aren't already following Sandrine Olivencia on LinkedIn, please do, because she is always sharing incredible knowledge and resources. And I also think just momentum, excitement for this space and expanding the community, which is our goal here too, as well at Lean Enterprise Institute. Take care, Sandrine.
Thank you so much, Lex.
Be well.
Speak soon.